In a galaxy full of powerful alien races, a joke began to spread. It wasn't about weapons, it wasn't about war. It was about Earth, and the tiny, weak creatures who lived there. Humans, they called them, soft skin, no claws, no wings, no armor, no poison, just 2 legs, 2 arms, and a brain. The galaxy laughed, and the laughter grew louder every year. The Gorlak Empire, tall and made of stone, crushed planets with their fists. The Kareen, flying hunters from the acid clouds, could see in every direction. The Silari, masters of energy, could bend light and heat like toys. Among these giants, humans looked like a mistake. Weak, slow, emotional, and small. They had only one thing, curiosity. But curiosity didn't win battles. So the galaxy laughed again. A council of elder species created something new. An arena, floating in space where species could compete. It was not just for war. It was for honor, pride, and dominance. It was a way to prove who truly ruled the stars. And they called it the Great Test. 100 species were invited, each sending warriors, thinkers, and champions. They sent the best of the best. And Earth was invited too, as a joke. When the humans arrived, the crowd went silent, then burst into laughter. "Are these their warriors?" One alien asked, looking at a short woman with glasses. "Where are their weapons?" Another asked, pointing to a man with tools and a backpack. But the humans only smiled, calm and quiet. They didn't understand the language, but they understood. The look in their eyes. They were being mocked again. Among the crowd sat an old alien, Xerox of the Silari. He did not laugh. He had seen many wars, many races, and many surprises. His eyes watched the humans closely. They were not afraid, not even confused. They were curious, watching everything, studying, learning. He whispered to himself, "They don't look like fighters, but something is strange." The first trial was simple, a race across a desert of fire. No machines, no tools, only skill and endurance. Most aliens ran fast, with long limbs or jet-powered suits. The humans ran too, slow but steady. Others rushed ahead, laughing as they passed them. But one by one, those who ran too fast collapsed from heat or exhaustion. The humans drank water, shared food, and moved together. When the race ended, 5 humans crossed the line, tired but smiling. They didn't win, but they didn't fail either. The galaxy stopped laughing for 1 second. The second trial was worse. A puzzle room filled with traps, lasers, and moving walls. Aliens with extra brains and super senses moved through fast but got stuck. Humans talked, planned, and helped each other. They built a ramp using broken metal, lifted each other, and escaped the maze. Not fast, but smart and safe. Other species started to watch them more closely now. By the end of the day, humans were not winning, but they were surviving. That alone was unexpected, and their smiles never faded. Their voices stayed calm. No matter how hard it got, they didn't complain. They didn't give up. Other aliens began whispering, "Why don't they stop? Why don't they fail?" Back on Earth, no one knew what was happening. The humans sent to the arena were not soldiers, not heroes. They were volunteers, teachers, builders, and dreamers. People who believed they could do something bigger, even if they didn't know what. Xerox watched again, his eyes wide now. "They don't have the strongest bodies," he said, "but they have something else." A younger alien asked him, "What is it, Elder Xerox?" Xerox replied, "They have something we forgot long ago. They have heart." The arena masters began to worry. This was supposed to be a game, a test, and a joke. But the humans were turning it into something else, not with power, but with will. Late at night, one human sat alone and looked up at the stars. He whispered, "They think we're weak. But they don't know what we've been through. We survive everything." He closed his eyes and smiled. Let them laugh. The arena lights dimmed. The next trial was coming. This one was deadly, full of danger and fear. Aliens sharpened blades, charged weapons, and prepared armor. Humans packed rope, tools, and food. They held each other's hands and said, "Let's go." And in the shadows, Xerox whispered again. They laughed at humanity, but now they will see. The next trial was no game. It was the first, real fight. No tricks, no puzzles, no races. This time it was combat, and the whole galaxy came to watch. A giant battle zone was built inside the arena, steel walls, deep tunnels, energy fields, and weapon stations. Each species could choose 5 fighters. The goal was simple: defeat the enemy team. No help, no mercy. When the humans stepped into the zone, the crowd laughed again. No armor, no fancy gear, no glowing weapons. Just light protection and small tools they had made themselves. One human carried a slingshot. Another had a rope. One held a simple homemade drone. It looked like a joke, but they walked in with calm eyes and steady steps. Their enemies were the Vrokan, tall, heavy beasts with bone armor and crushing fists. The Vrokan were known for one thing: brute power. They could smash rocks and tear metal like paper. The crowd cheered loudly for the Vrokan. They were sure this would be quick, brutal, and fun to watch. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, silence. Then, the ground shook as the Vrokan charged, but the humans didn't run forward. They split into pairs and vanished into the broken buildings of the arena. They had studied the map, measured distances, and built small traps from scrap. They weren't fighting like soldiers. They were hunting, like wolves. The first Vrokan stepped on a pressure plate. A small bomb exploded under his foot. Just strong. Enough to throw him back. The crowd gasped, not in pain, but in confusion. No one expected traps. The second Vrokan chased a human through a tunnel. He reached out to grab him, but slipped on oil the human had poured earlier. He fell into a pit filled with wires and sharp metal. Not fatal, but embarrassing. The crowd stopped laughing. From above, the drone flew quietly. It didn't fire anything, but it watched. It sent live images to the humans on the ground. They knew where each Vrokan was going. They weren't fighting harder. They were fighting smarter. The third Vrokan found one human alone. A woman with no weapon. He roared and charged, but she didn't move. At the last second, she jumped to the side. Another human pulled a rope, and a giant net fell from above. The Vrokan was trapped, growling and stuck. This time the crowd didn't cheer. They watched in silence. Only 2 Vrokan remained. One was too angry to think. He ran straight into a tunnel, swinging wildly. The humans had lined it with flash, powder. As he stepped in, the lights exploded, blinding him. Then came smoke, noise, and confusion. By the time he stumbled out, the fight was over. The last Vrokan stood alone. He raised both fists and shouted, "Come face me, one-on-one." He believed in strength, in honor, in battle, but the humans didn't move. They spoke quietly to each other, then disappeared into the shadows again. 10 minutes later, the Vrokan stood still, breathing hard, looking around. Nothing. No sound, no enemy, only silence. Then a voice echoed from behind. "Why do you fight alone?" He turned, but too late. A net wrapped around him, then came a shock pulse from a hidden panel. The great warrior fell, stunned but alive. It was over. The humans won. Not with power, not with tech, with planning, teamwork, and trust. The arena stayed silent, the crowd frozen. No one cheered. No one clapped. They had never seen a fight like this before. The humans walked out together, tired but smiling. They helped each other, even the one who got injured. They didn't act like heroes, just friends doing a hard job together. In the control room, the arena masters whispered, "How did they win?" "They shouldn't have won. They don't have weapons." Xerox smiled in the corner, his eyes shining. "They have something better," he said. "They understand weakness, so they adapt. They understand fear, so they work together. They don't need to be strong because they are smart." He stood up and looked at the screen where the humans stood proudly. "They were shaped by pain, by war, by struggle," he said. "And now, the galaxy will see what true strength really is." Outside, news of the human victory spread fast. Across alien worlds, people argued. Some said it was luck, some said it was cheating, but some started to worry. If they can win without weapons, one alien whispered, what happens when they build better ones? Far away, on Earth, Humans still had no idea. Their people were fighting in the stars, winning, surviving, surprising the galaxy, and slowly, fear began to grow among the stars. Because if the weakest species could do this, what else were they capable of? The arena had seen many battles before, races with claws, fire, and power fought for glory, but none had ever seen what the humans showed. Not weapons, not speed, not even strategy. They showed something older, something deeper. They showed will. After their strange victory against the Vrokon, the galaxy stopped laughing. For the first time, aliens began watching humans closely. They wanted to understand. How could such a soft species win so much? The third trial was called the Pit of Silence. It wasn't about fighting, it was a test of the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Each participant was placed alone in a deep black chamber. No light, no sound, no time, only themselves and their thoughts. For many species, this was worse than pain. The rules were simple. Stay inside as long as you can. The one who lasts longest wins. Most champions broke in minutes. Some screamed, some cried. Some begged to be pulled out. Even warriors from powerful races could not last long without senses. But the humans, they sat still. No light, no sound, yet they did not break. One woman closed her eyes and remembered her mother's voice. A man thought of building his first house. A nurse pictured holding her baby. They didn't fight the darkness. They welcomed it. An alien monitor beeped. Time passed, 2 hours. Most other species had already quit, but the humans were still inside, still calm, still waiting, still strong. Xerox watched with quiet awe. He knew what this meant. They don't need the outside world to survive, he said. Their minds are full of fire. On the 6th hour, only 2 remained, a human man and a Zenth elite with 3 brains. The Zenth was trained in mental focus, but even he began to shake. He saw things that weren't real, his own thoughts turning against him. Meanwhile, the human whispered to himself, "We have been alone before. We have faced darkness before. This is nothing new." At hour 7, the Zenth broke. He cried for the chamber to open. His eyes full of fear, the arena doors slid wide and the human stepped out slowly. Eyes red, hands shaking, but still standing. He did not raise his fists, did not shout. He only said, "Next." The crowd didn't know how to react. They didn't understand what they had just seen. Not strength of body, but strength of soul. Not muscle, but will. One reporter from a flying race spoke into a hollow feed. "Today the humans showed us something terrifying. They do not break." Later in the resting chamber, a young alien named Rail asked the human, "How did you stay inside so long?" The human smiled. "We've lived through worse. On Earth, people live alone for years, fight pain every day, lose everything, and keep going." Rail blinked. "But why don't you give up?" The human looked at him and said softly, "Because we don't know how." That night, across the galaxy, alien leaders gathered in secret. They were worried now. If humans had weapons, they could be controlled. If they had ships, they could be watched. But how do you stop a species that fights with will? Xerox sat with the other elders, silent as they argued. Some wanted to ban humans from the trials. Some wanted to study them like machines. Others said, "Let them fight. Let them prove what they truly are." Xerox finally spoke. "They are not the strongest. They are not the smartest. But they are something new. They are the beginning of something we do not yet understand." Back in the human quarters, the 5 humans sat together. They were not smiling, not celebrating. They were thinking. They knew the galaxy was watching now. The joke was over and something bigger was coming. One human looked up at the stars through the glass window. "What do we do now?" she asked. The leader of the group, a quiet man with gray hair, said, "We keep going. We keep showing them what humans are made of." He closed his eyes and whispered, "They tested our minds. Next they'll test our hearts, and they still don't know how far we'll go." Far away in another corner of the galaxy, a warlord from a cruel empire growled, These humans are dangerous. We must crush them before the others start to believe in them. But it was too late. Whispers had already begun. From moons to space stations, from traders to warriors, everyone was talking about the species that doesn't quit. And the humans. They were just getting started. The arena was never alive. It was built by machines powered by cold stars and controlled by ancient minds. Everything had a rule, a timer, a system. It was supposed to be neutral, fair, unchanging, until the humans arrived. After the trial of the mind, strange things began to happen. Small at first, barely noticed. A light stayed on too long. A door closed slower than usual. Then the walls started to shift, but only when humans walked by. As if the arena was watching them, learning them. The next challenge was survival in the wild. Each team would be dropped into a dangerous jungle zone with one goal: stay alive for 72 hours. There would be predators, storms, hunger, and no help. The test was meant to break the weak, to show who could live without support. When the humans landed, the jungle welcomed them with silence. No birds, no wind, only the sound of boots stepping. On wet ground, they moved carefully, setting up a camp with whatever they could find. Vines became rope. Leaves became shelter. Sticks became tools. This was familiar. Humans had done this for thousands of years on Earth. They knew how to survive, but the jungle did not stay the same. Other species reported the zone turning colder or hotter. Poisonous plants changed color. Trees moved their roots. Even the wild animals began to behave strangely. One hunter from the Targan race swore he saw a tree grow in front of him. Out of nowhere. Back at the control center, the arena masters argued. "The systems are stable," one said, "but the code is reacting. Strangely when the humans are near," another replied. "It's like the arena is changing itself around them." Xerox stared at the screen, deep in thought. "They are not just surviving the trials," he said. "They are bending them." Inside the jungle, the humans faced their first real danger, a giant lizard. With crystal spikes attacked their camp at night. Its roar shook the trees and its eyes burned with fire. But the humans didn't run. They used light to confuse it, heat to lead it away, and traps to stop it. They didn't kill it, they outsmarted it. And then something happened, something no one expected. The next morning, the beast returned. Not to fight, but to sleep near the human camp. It stayed close, calm, and peaceful, as if it felt safe. The humans looked at each other in confusion. "Did we tame it?" one asked. "No," another said. "It chose us." The jungle around them began to change. Fruit grew faster near their camp. Water became clearer. Air became cooler. The zone was adapting, reacting to their will, their emotions, their presence. It was no longer just a test, it was becoming something else. On the second day, the sky changed above the jungle. The blue color of Earth's sky began to form. Even the clouds moved like Earth's. The arena's weather system was never programmed for this. Aliens watching from space gasped. "How is this possible?" they asked. "It looks like they're home." Back on Earth, scientists picked up strange signals from deep space, energy patterns that matched Earth's atmosphere. But it didn't make sense. How can the arena send this kind of data? They wondered. What are our people doing out there? The final night in the jungle was the most intense. A massive storm rolled in, with winds stronger than anything the arena had ever created. Lightning cracked the sky, and trees snapped. In half, other species screamed for help, begging to be pulled out of the trial, but the humans held their ground. They tied themselves together, shared warmth, and sang songs. Songs of Earth, of hope, of survival. When the storm passed, they were still there. Wet, tired, hungry, but alive, and not just alive. Changed. Something deep inside them had awakened. Something the arena could not understand. When they returned to the main hub, the humans walked through the gate. Behind them, the jungle continued to change. Trees grew taller. Flowers bloomed in their footsteps. The arena's machines reported errors. Zone 7 no longer stable. Patterns unknown. System rewriting. The arena was mutating, and it all started with them. Xerox stood before the High Council and spoke calmly. "This is no longer about tests or games," he said. "The humans are doing something we didn't prepare for. They are not following the rules. They are changing the rules. One warlord slammed the table. "This is dangerous." Another whispered, "It's unnatural." Xerox smiled. "Or maybe it's evolution." And far away in the quiet core of the arena, the lights flickered. The machines scanned old data, and one word echoed through the system, a word it had never used before. The arena had changed, not just its shape or systems, its purpose had shifted. It was no longer testing species. It was watching one, humanity. Other races saw it too. The jungle that healed them, the beast that followed them, the sky that turned, earth blue. Something about the humans was different, and that difference brought fear. Fear spread faster than light. In high towers, alien leaders whispered, "If we don't stop them now, we never will." They were supposed to lose, not reshape the galaxy. A plan was made, quiet and cruel. A small group of alien powers formed a secret alliance. They called it the Balance Pact. Their goal: end humanity's rise before it was too late. The next trial was delayed. The humans rested in their quarters, unaware that far from the arena, Earth was under attack, not with ships or bombs, but with something worse. A signal, a viral wave sent through space, designed to break Earth's satellites and blind their systems. In one moment, Earth lost all connection to its people. In the stars, no voice, no message, just silence. Panic spread across cities. Families cried, thinking their children were gone. Governments scrambled to find answers, but found only noise and shadows. Inside the arena, the humans felt it. They couldn't explain it, but they knew. Something was wrong, something had happened to Earth. They felt it not through science, but through instinct. The youngest among them, a nurse named Lila, fell to her knees. "My brother," she whispered. "He's in orbit. He's gone silent." The group gathered, eyes wide, fists clenched. No proof, no facts, just feeling, but that was enough. The arena masters said nothing. They claimed the systems were fine. They told the humans to prepare for the next trial. But something in their eyes had changed. Cold, distant, guilty. Then came the twist. During the night, one of the humans caught a small flying probe near their room. Inside it, a message, encrypted, but human-made, from Earth, sent before the blackout. The message was short, broken, but clear. "We're under attack. They fear you. Survive." The humans didn't sleep that night. They sat in silence, not from fear, but from anger. Not rage, not hate, just a quiet burning deep inside their bones. "They came after our home," said Marcus, the team's leader. "They broke the only rule that ever mattered. Never attack the ones who can't fight back." Xerox watched. From the shadows, worried, he had seen war, seen revenge, seen hate, but this was different. The humans weren't planning to destroy. They were preparing to endure. The next morning, the new trial began, a battlefield filled with rising platforms, disappearing floors, and unstable gravity. It was meant to confuse and exhaust the body. But the humans walked in like ghosts. No smiles, no jokes, no hesitation. They moved with quiet fury. Each step was precise, each action calm. Their eyes weren't on the other teams. They were watching the sky, as if waiting for Earth to speak again. The crowd noticed it too. The humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were commanding the arena. One alien charged at them, swinging an electric blade. He was strong, fast, trained, but the humans didn't even draw weapons. They redirected his energy into the wall. Using only metal scraps, he fell without a scream, stunned and defeated. Another tried to snipe them from above, but the humans used mirrors to bounce sunlight into his eyes. He missed every shot and surrendered. It wasn't war. It was control. The arena began to tremble again. Lights shifted. Gravity stabilized near the humans. Systems aligned with their steps. The very machines obeyed their will, and then it happened. A glowing circle formed under their feet. The ground hummed with strange energy. The sky opened above them, and a voice came through, clear and human. "We're back online." Earth had fought off the virus. It had traced the signal back. The attackers were exposed, shamed before the entire galaxy. And still the humans did not ask for revenge. They only stood taller. The crowd erupted, but this time it wasn't laughter or fear. It was awe, respect, silence filled with meaning. Even those who had once mocked humanity now bowed their heads. In the council chambers, chaos began. Leaders yelled, blaming each other for the betrayal. But Xerox stood above them all and spoke. "You tried to kill their spirit," he said, "but you only gave it something to rise against. They are not just survivors. They are not just clever. They are not just kind. They are becoming." The arena had lost control. Its machines obeyed new rules. Its systems twisted themselves around one species. Humanity, the ones who came as weaklings, were now shaping the battlefield. But the trials weren't over. The final test had arrived. The Arena Council called it the Crown Trial. One team would be crowned the victors of the entire Galactic Challenge, but not through points, not through rules, through battle. One last war. Each species had to choose their best 5 warriors. No machines, no allies, no mercy. The battlefield would shift constantly. Mountains, ice storms, lava rivers, zero-gravity zones, all in one arena. Only one team would stand at the end. The Dode humans walked toward the gate. They didn't wear armor, they didn't carry swords, but their presence was heavy. Like the air changed when they entered the room. Xerox stood alone in the observation tower, watching the humans. He whispered, "They've already won," a voice behind him asked. "Then why are they still fighting?" Xerox replied, "Because they're not fighting for themselves." As the gates opened, the crowd gasped. The human team stepped into the arena. But they weren't alone. Other species were standing behind them, small teams from minor planets. Forgotten races, ex-slaves, ignored tribes, they had left their leaders and joined the humans. Why? Asked a member of the council. A rebel alien said one word: hope. The arena shook as the battle began. The ground broke apart. Towers rose from the dust. Flames burst from the cracks. The elite teams of the great empires moved with deadly force. They were fast, strong, perfect. But something was wrong. Their weapons failed. Their drones turned against them. The arena no longer answered to them. It listened to the humans, and the humans. They didn't fight like before. They didn't hide or trap or trick. They stood tall and walked through fire. They didn't run from explosions. They moved through them. One human caught a blast with a shield made from broken metal. Another walked calmly through a zero-gravity field, guiding allies like a teacher. A third lifted a fallen alien with one arm and pulled him to safety. No one understood how they were still moving, still breathing, still winning. Then something strange happened. Lila, the youngest of the human team, collapsed for a moment, her eyes glowing with faint light, her skin pulsing like stars. Marcus knelt beside her. "Are you all right?" She looked up, smiling softly. "I can feel everything." "What do you mean?" he asked. "I can feel them," she said, pointing to the crowd. "They're afraid," she whispered. "But not of us. They're afraid of the ones above them." Marcus helped her stand. Her body was changing, slowly, quietly. Her voice echoed without sound. The air bent around her. She wasn't just human anymore. The battle kept going, but something had shifted. The enemy teams began to hesitate. Some dropped their weapons. Some joined the humans mid-fight. Even machines in the sky began blinking with a strange blue glow as if they, too, were listening. The arena itself started to collapse, not from damage but from evolution. Its systems couldn't contain what was happening. The rules were breaking. The code was rewriting itself. The humans didn't run. They stood in the center of the battlefield. Calm and still, Lila stepped forward, light swirling around her body. She raised her hand and the energy in the air slowed, like time itself took a breath. The final blast from the remaining elite team hit her and vanished before touching her skin. The arena fell silent. Lila spoke, her voice soft but felt by every being watching. "We came here as your joke," she said, "but you taught us who we are. We don't fight to win. We fight so no one else has to." She looked around at the species who had joined them. You followed us not because we were strong, but because we believed you were. A shockwave of light burst from her body. Not heat, not sound, just pure will. It moved through the arena, through the walls into the stars, across ships, planets, and stations. The test was over, but the war had become a revolution. In the council tower, panic spread. The leaders knew they had lost, not to weapons or numbers, but to something they never understood: unity. Xerox stood and smiled. He looked toward the stars. They thought humanity was a danger, he said, but they were a doorway. And now, he whispered, the galaxy walks through it. The arena was gone, not destroyed but transformed. Its walls had melted into light, its code rewritten by willpower, not by machines, not by hands, but by something deeper, by humanity. Where once there were battles, now there was silence. Where once there were rules, now there was choice. And standing in the center of this light binder were the humans. Lila floated just above the ground, her eyes calm, her voice like wind, not loud but everywhere. She didn't command, she didn't demand. She simply asked, "Are you ready to stop being afraid?" The other species didn't answer with words. They stepped forward slowly, one by one, not to fight but to stand. Beside her, beside the humans, not as soldiers but as equals. In the shattered council tower, the old rulers watched helplessly. The power they once held was fading like dust. No one bowed to them anymore, no one feared their threats. Their time was over. Xerox stood among them, the only elder not afraid. He had seen what they had ignored. He spoke with steady voice. They came to our games, not to conquer, but to endure. They faced everything we built, and they didn't break. They didn't destroy us, he said, looking around. They changed us. On 1,000 planets, change spread like wildfire. Small species once used as slaves began to rise. Their chains weren't broken by weapons, but by ideas. They started building, speaking, voting, dreaming. Messages flew across the galaxy. We saw the humans, they said. They stood up. Now we will too. Back on Earth, when the blackout lifted, humanity saw what had happened. The footage from the arena played on every screen. People wept. Not from fear, but from pride. They saw their sons and daughters standing in the stars, changing the fate of the galaxy. One mother whispered, "They didn't just survive. They lit the way." In the remains of the arena, a final meeting was held. Not in secret. Not behind walls, but in the open, under the stars. Every species was invited. No titles, no ranks, just voices. Lila stood beside her team. She was still human, but more. Her skin shimmered faintly. Her thoughts touched everyone nearby. Yet she still spoke in simple words, clear and kind. "We didn't come to lead," she said, "but if no one else will, we won't walk away." She looked at the broken symbols of the old council. They ruled with fear. We offer something else. Choice. The silence that followed was not empty. It was filled with decision. Aliens looked at each other. Some nodded, some cried, some reached out and held hands for the first time in generations. One small creature from a species no one had ever listened to stepped forward. "I don't want a throne," he said. "I just want my children to live without chains." A tall warrior from a desert world spoke. "We used to fight alone. Now I want to fight for something together." And like that, the galaxy began again. Not perfect, not peaceful, not easy, but different. A council was rebuilt. Not from power, but from purpose. Each world sent one voice, not to rule, but to listen. And the humans, they stayed. Not as kings, but as keepers. They didn't build empires, they built bridges. Between fear and courage, between power and peace, between silence and song. Xerox, now old and fading, watched it all from a quiet moon. He wrote one final line in his book before closing it forever. "They laughed at humanity," he wrote, "but in the end humanity gave them something to live for." In the sky above, ships moved without weapons. Signals were filled with art, not commands. For the first time in galactic history, war was no longer the loudest sound. It was replaced by something stronger, understanding, and at the heart of it all, floating between stars once filled with fire, was a voice. Human, soft, and unshakable. It whispered into every corner of the universe. We are small, but we are not weak. We are flawed, but we do not give up. We are many things, but most of all, we are willing.